Welcome back, everyone. You know how much we love a good historical deep dive. And today's topic is no exception. We're going to be talking about Franz Schmidt,
Yep.
16th century executioner
16th century, that's right. Executioner of Nuremberg.
of Nuremberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
You send over some interesting material on him. And I have to say, I'm very curious to get into this. It seems like this executioner had a rather unique style.
He did. He did.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
What made Franz Schmidt so different from other executioners of the time?
Well, to start with, he was a real historical figure.
Okay, so not just some legend or myth.
Nope, he was a real guy. And his methods, they were definitely unusual, even for back then, even for the 16th century.
The sources I was looking at mentioned that he was known as the laughing torturer. What was going on there?
Well, to understand that, I think we need to kind of step back and look at the whole context of torture, back in those days, the 16th century. Torture, unfortunately, it was a very common practice. It was, it was how they got confessions.
Right.
It was how they punished people who were accused of crimes. And different places, different regions, they had their own, favorite methods,
That's what you said.
Like, you've heard of the rack,
Of course, yeah.
thumb screws,
Yeah.
water torture, all sorts of horrible stuff.
Yeah, it's grim stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, the executioners, they just kind of did their jobs, like they saw it as a necessary part of the justice system,
Okay.
even if it was a pretty nasty, unpleasant part.
So how did Schmidt differ?
Well, he seemed to really enjoy what he was doing. A little too much, you could say.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, people who witnessed his work,
Yeah.
they described him laughing like maniacally while he was torturing people.
That's pretty chilling.
Yeah, it was not the norm.
There was a story, I think you sent it over, about a prisoner who just refused to confess,
Uh-huh.
and Schmidt used, well, let's call it an unorthodox method of persuasion.
Yes. This is one of the stories that always gets me. So the story goes that Schmidt, he strapped this prisoner to a spinning wheel.
A spinning wheel.
A spinning wheel.
Like for spinning yarn.
Yep, like a big old wooden wheel. And he just spun him on it,
Yeah.
really fast, all the while just laughing hysterically.
Oh my God, what did the prisoner do?
Well, that's the really crazy part. He didn't break down. He didn't beg for mercy.
Oh wow.
He started laughing too.
He started laughing.
Laughing.
It's almost like he just couldn't process the absurdity of the situation.
Yeah. It's such a bizarre reaction, right? You'd expect, screams, please, something like that, but laughter.
Yeah. That's a whole other level of messed up. And the prisoner confessed.
He did. He confessed, but not because of the pain, not because he couldn't take it anymore, but because of the sheer ridiculousness of the whole thing. It broke him.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible in a terrible way.
Yeah.
But what does that tell us about Schmidt? I mean, was he just sadistic, or was there something more to it?
I think it points to a real understanding of the human psyche.
All right.
Like he knew what buttons to push, he knew how to get under people's skin.
And there's that quote, that chilling quote from his diary.
Oh yeah.
Where he writes, "I have found that laughter can be a most effective tool in the art of torture."
It's chilling.
It makes my skin crawl every time I read it.
I mean, he's weaponizing laughter.
He is. It's not just about inflicting pain, right? It's about psychological manipulation. Yeah, it's like he's taking something that's supposed to be joyful, something that connects us, and he's twisting it, turning it into something sinister.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Laughter is usually associated with good things, right?
Yeah.
Happiness, amusement, being with friends.
Right.
But Schmidt, he takes that and he injects it into this scenario of pain and fear, and it completely disrupts everything.
Yeah. It creates this sense of unease and confusion.
Right. It's like it throws the victim completely off balance.
So the nickname, the laughing torturer, it's not just a catchy label.
Yeah.
It's actually, it speaks to something very real about his methods.
Absolutely. It's a chilling reminder that history is full of these complex and often very disturbing figures.
And it raises a really interesting question, I think.
Yeah.
What does Schmidt's story tell us about the relationship between humor and cruelty and the human psyche?
It definitely makes you think, right?
It does. There's a lot to unpack there, I think.
Yeah.
And it's something our listeners can ponder as
Oh,
well.
sure. It's not an easy question to answer, but it's one worth asking.
Absolutely.